So I would say that would be the case for me. That if you drop 2 in a row here, then I think it's time to give Hank Brown a chance and see can he. I also want to see the young fella see if he can respond from adversity. You had some adversity in the
Hank,
Arkansas game. Yeah, Hank.
I
So
know.
I would like to see how he would perform if given another opportunity to get back out there and play. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to be a starter or whatever, but I would like to see him get back on the field before the season's over with.
same. Same. I mean, I think it, this situation was not ideal for anyone involved, obviously, and I don't think that Hank was under the assumption that it was a done deal just because he did well in that one game. But it's not good for anyone mentally to throw 3 picks and then get pulled and not have another shot at it. I mean, like, we can all apply that to what we do for a living. If you're one mess up, you get fired and given no opportunity to fix it, then that's just going to mess with you and make you gun shy the next time. So I really would like to see him get back out there. I'm sure they are in the place now of still considering red shirts. So a Walker White getting out there and things like that. He has obviously not seen the field at all, but like some of these guys that are now sitting there with like 2 games that they've appeared in or one, you are probably considering what's best and what's most necessary when it comes to red shirts. So, but it's an interesting conversation because the quote best chance to win being Peyton, and yet it's still not amounting in wins. At what point is that no longer the priority? Not that it's not always your goal. Every game you take the field, you're hoping to win. But if a losing season it becomes inevitable at any point and a bowl game is out of reach, I am more, you know, interested in seeing some of these young quarterbacks than I am what more, this current situation could continue to be. I just don't care at that point.
Fairness, I would say this. You're not losing much from a passing perspective by playing Hank.
Right.
To me, Hank probably throws a better ball.
Yeah.
And he throws a better deep ball, and and his arms are a little bit stronger. The only thing you give up is the RPO running portion, where Hank's not a runner and Peyton's more of a runner. So there's gives a little bit with Peyton, but then there's pluses with Hank, but then there's the rushing attack that you give up on a little bit. But at this point in time, I'm like, look, I don't need my quarterback to run the ball for me to win.
I kind of think it hinders him at times.
Get the ball to Jarquez and Damari, and let's rock and roll. Jeremy,
Correct.
let's rock and roll, and let Hank throw the ball down the field and protect them a little bit. Give him progressions that goes 1 to 2. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
don't progressions that go 1, 2, and 3 just yet because he may not be ready to go 1, 2, 3.
Right.
But he can definitely do one progression to the next progression.
Yeah.
So I think it is a big bye week, and who knows? Have nobody even said who's starting against Missouri.
Well, before we wrap it up, I got to get your take on all the chaos that happened this past week.
Yeah.
Obviously, the big one, Vandy upsets Bama, their first ever win against an AP #1 team. Let's see. We already talked about Missouri got upset by Texas A&M. Tennessee got upset by Arkansas. Huge win for T-Will and that Arkansas defense. They had a great game plan to control Nico Iamaleava and that Tennessee offense. Let's see. Who else? Michigan got upset. USC lost. I mean, it was college football broke on Saturday. I think we're seeing the most parity that we've seen in quite a while.
Well, the thing is, those are the funnest weekends because everyone always has to circle the big weekends, and they feel like, okay, these are going to be the big games, and then you have a weekend like last week, and it's just like, wow, no one saw those games being like that,
right?
And they end up being that's what makes college football so much fun. That's what makes everyone want to cover college football. And I think about the Vanderbilt and Alabama game. I wasn't even keeping up because our game was still going, but as soon as our game ended, I saw all the people that was downfield at Georgia staying in the stadium at the bottom on the field looking at a screen. And then I saw people that was next to us, a couple boxes and everything, still just standing there. So I'm looking up and they're like, oh, Vandy's winning with 4 minutes to go in the game. Everyone's like, well, they pulled an upset.
Yeah.
And by this time, Bama just scored. And I was like, uh-oh. And then when Vandy got the ball back, they could not stop them. And Vandy played to win. And the dude Pavia that beat us last year when he was with New Mexico State, turned around and beat Bama this year at Vanderbilt. So that's why I say you don't have to have these 6'5" glasses of water quarterbacks. You can get some of these 5'9", 5'10" guys that's feisty,
Yeah.
know how to throw the football, but still strong enough to will teams to win. So, it's just he did an exceptional job, and kudos to Vanderbilt. That coach has those guys playing well. They has
Yes,
those
he
kids
does.
believing that they can win. Like
Yep.
that's the thing about college football. You can get a 18 to 22-year-old to believe they can win. They can play out of their minds, and that's what he has them doing right now at Vanderbilt. They're playing above what they could have ever imagined,
Yep.
and everything. And it's not the first time they beat Virginia Tech. They had a chance to beat Missouri, like we talked about. So
Yep.
this is a different Vanderbilt team,
It is.
and now let's talk about Bama. Okay, Bama come off a big win against Georgia. The biggest time you can upset anybody is the following week after a big game.
Interesting.
And they just so happen to be running into Vanderbilt, feeling good about that game that they was able to pull out after Georgia came back, and thinking about, oh, we'll just go to Vanderbilt, take care of business, and then come back home and get ready for South Carolina. And went up there and ran against a gauntlet that couldn't wait till they get there.
Yep.
And everything. And this just goes to show you, at the end of the day, man, it is all possible.
You're right.
Saturdays, because Bama played offensively, Vanderbilt couldn't stop them, but they knew they had to outscore them by just controlling the ball and make sure they didn't have the ball last to go down and win the game. Great strategy. Now, kid kicking the football and all that type of stuff. People say stuff wouldn't happen on Saban watch. Saban had stuff to go on the sideline, just like every other coach that have had stuff to go on the sideline. Now, with him kicking the football in that situation, yes, there will be a little bit of punishment. Like, I can't let that go unnoticed. Like,
Right.
we're not going to tolerate that type of attitude and behavior, because something didn't go our way. So now we all of a sudden we just going to feel like we just do what we want to do and throw a tantrum. That's not what we're doing.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure Coach DeVore is going to do something. Like, he has to do something. You have to send a message to your team that stuff will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
And everything. So, but like I said, moving forward, what's your take on it? I thought it was a great game plan by Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they were aggressive too. I think it was 4th and something, and they took a deep shot to the end zone. Like, they weren't playing either. They weren't playing scared. They were just like going lights out, and I love it because honestly, like, you look at the stands, pretty much any Vandy home game, the away team has more fans there. Like, Vandy, you have to get those kids to believe in something that other SEC schools are not having to deal with. You also are working around different academics. They are behind in NIL, in fundraising, in facilities. The facilities are finally catching up. They're under construction still. It's going to be a few years before it's all done, but they're slowly getting there, but they're always going to be behind in terms of those kinds of things. And the belief that has been instilled in those guys that they truly can go out there and beat anybody, and nothing is going to prove that more than a win over Alabama, especially on the heels of them beating Georgia. So I was so impressed by Clark Lee and the staff's approach to the game and just going for it, and the way that the guys were just flying around to the football. I mean, they controlled everything. So really impressed by that one. I was also impressed by Arkansas. I've been kind of waiting on Tennessee to slip a little bit, not because I don't believe that they're talented, but Nico's got a lot to learn, and I think that they do have some veteran pieces, but it just seemed like there was going to be one that was going to be a learning experience for them, and this felt like that. And then the other ones that have, I mean, like, this just makes it so interesting that the only undefeated SEC team now is Texas, and Texas has Oklahoma this week. And so we'll see what fares with that. They still have Georgia ahead, but it's the perfect year for the elimination of divisions and an expanded playoff, because I think you're going to have a handful of schools with very similar arguments and resumes at the end of the year. So it makes it more entertaining, that's for sure. But
yeah, like I said, for me, watching Miami come back against Cal was crazy. Like, Cal, how you lose that game?
No. How was that not targeting? Are you kidding me? I've never seen a more textbook target in my life.
Yeah, hey, like I said, I reserve my comments nowadays on air when it comes to if it's targeting or not targeting because
That
every
ain't
time
about
I think
Auburn.
it's targeting, it's not targeting. And then you think about the disappointment this weekend to me was South Carolina. You had you supposed to Ole Miss coming to your territory. This is a game that you feel like the show that you belong in the top half of the SEC.
Mm,
You don't just get beat; you get thumped at home, and it's not even close.
mhm,
Um, and just thinking about the other big victory to me, like you said, was Arkansas.
mhm.
I thought T. Will had an exceptional game plan.
He really did.
Tennessee's offense, who have been rushing the ball really well, who've been throwing the ball really well all over the place. But then again, I tell people be careful about them early schedules of who these people don't be playing, and then we put them on the pedestal, and then they start
100%.
get some good defenses, and then they come back down to earth. The last 2 weeks when Tennessee played Oklahoma, Oklahoma pretty much held them tight. And then you
Yeah.
think about what Arkansas was able to do. T. Will went out there with a 2-5-4 defense, or two down linemen and five guys in the box, and then you got the four guys in secondary behind them. And they said, hey, only if you start rushing the ball really good against us, then fine. But they was still able to neutralize the run. They still had 170 yards rushing, but they was neutralizing it, and they made things hard on Nico. And
Yeah.
you saw his youth. Like, he could not read those style defenses. Travison was giving pre-snap, and they show him something else once the ball snapped. And even on fourth down, he was so afraid to throw an interception, he just ran out of bounds with the ball.
I
Instead of
know.
throwing the ball up to give your guys an opportunity to tip ball or whatever, he just went out of bounds.
Yep.
So there's just so much to have to learn, and now you start to learn stuff about your team. I tell everybody,
Right.
you don't start learning about your football team until mid-October. I was just like, those first 5 games are build-up games, and then you start to shift that thing into second gear. But when you get halfway through October, you're in third gear, and then you're out
Yeah.
full gear rolling. So we're about to see the meat separate the potatoes. The cream come to the top. The
Separate the boys from the men, all the analogies, we get it.
Right. Who wants to be on the team next
No,
year,
it's so true, though.
and who doesn't want to be here? You
Mhm.
can if I'm coaching Auburn or any school, the next half of the season, you need to update your resume
Yeah. You learn a
because
lot.
right, update your resume because at the end of this season, if you're gonna request for certain amounts of money, all these different things, it needs to be shown on the football field. It needs to be
Yeah.
shown in things that you're doing. And if you're not doing those things and you're not showing that you want to be here, then you need to look elsewhere, and
Right.
look elsewhere. So if you want to be here, update your resume.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, I'm still Texas A&M certainly has an interesting path now if they continue what they showed this past weekend. I, LSU, I still think that you don't really know what to make of LSU just yet, but you never really count them out. So the SEC is still an interesting conversation, and given the structure of the playoff, I think the top four. What?
Now, I just giving you an LSU take. I just thinking about it. You never know what you're really gonna get with
You
LSU,
don't.
and it's true. I watched the South Carolina game, and South Carolina gave the game to them. But then you watch, LSU. You just Nussmeier. What's his name?
Nussmeier.
Nussmeier.
There you go.
Nussmeier is the it's a domino effect in that one.
Agreed. Agreed. It's one of those that they haven't necessarily had the toughest of theirs at the beginning either. They beat UCLA. Who'd they lose to start season?
USC.
USC, right. That was a big one to start. And then they kind of look like they've got some firepower. It just hadn't all been put together yet. So we'll see. But I do think it sets up for a compelling October and November as we're in the second half of season now. This is so crazy to me that we're at the midway point. But here we go. Hopefully the Tigers make good use of the bye week and then come back out with a new, fresh approach because we need some dubs for the love of God. All right,
In
everybody.
a row. 5
5 in a row. Jay's calling for it. Woo, okay. Yeah.
in a row. Hell yeah.
On that note, Jay and I will bid you farewell. Thank you so much for listening and following along, as you guys always do. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. You'll receive a notification every time we release an episode. If you prefer to watch on video, make sure you check us out on YouTube. We're on Bleav's YouTube channel every single week. And come on back next week. We'll preview Missouri a bit more and any news and notes out of the bye week. So enjoy week 7, everybody. We'll talk soon. War Eagle.
Do you have to pay me $100 if Auburn wins 5 in a row?
Sure.
Wow.
Bet.
Cash out ready.
You heard it. I'll think about what well, no. If they lose, I don't want anything. Okay. We'll see ya.